Chair.
All right, thank you. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Tonight, the presentations of colors and the Pledge of Allegiance is done by Inca High School. They are instructed by Major Kevin Dean Bohr, U.S. Air Force, and Master Sergeant Douglas Draper, U.S. Air Force, both retired. At this time, we will do the presentation of colors.
Color guard, 10, hut. Forward, march. Color guard, halt. Post. Reset. Color.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Color. Post. Forward, march.
I ask that we remain standing tonight for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. Tonight, as we approve the agenda, I want to acknowledge that we're going to remove from the agenda information item policy 2302 that will be for further information. So with that adjustment, could I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Dr. Baldwin.
Good evening, everyone. I want to begin by recognizing our mid-year graduation ceremony that took place in the Thomas Wolfe Auditorium this past Sunday. We had 184 graduates, and that represents the highest number of students graduating mid-year since 2015. And this continues to represent a great opportunity for those students that need a little bit extra academic time, in addition to those students who are completing high school graduation requirements early and they want to begin their post-secondary plans. And this year, Inca High School had the most mid-year graduates at 37, so very, very proud of that. On Tuesday, the Buncombe County Commissioners allocated an additional $1,641,878 to our operating budget, which allowed the salary and benefits of our 745 employees that are paid from local funds to equate their salaries and benefits with their state-funded peers. As I've noted many times in the past, the requirement to submit a budget by May 15th to the county commissioners conflicts with most often the later date, and in many cases a much, much later date when our state budget is approved. This school year, our state budget was not finalized until November 18th. We depend upon a majority of our operating funds to come from the state budget. In fact, it's over 60% of our funding from the state budget. This timeline requires us to predict by May 15th several non-negotiable increases from the state that include salaries as well as retirement and health insurance rates. We want to sincerely thank the county commissioners for the additional allocation of these local dollars and adjustment to our original budget request that took place last spring. February is recognized as Love the School Bus Month, and February 14th through the 18th represents Bus Driver Appreciation Week. I want to recognize not only our highly dedicated bus drivers and transportation safety assistants, but the outstanding support that Transportation Director David Roney and his team of mechanics and staff provide. Daily, the efforts of these individuals keep our 206 school buses running their routes and covering a total of 12,945 miles. That's on a daily basis. This year, we are averaging 9,268 students that are transported to and from school on our school buses. Please consider taking some time next week and personally thanking our drivers and support staff for the important role that they play to safely begin and end each school day for our students. They are truly MVPs in Buncombe County Schools. A reminder concerning important dates this month: Thursday, February 10th is an early release day. The all-county elementary, intermediate, and middle school choruses will perform on Tuesday, February 15th at Brookstone Church beginning at 6 o'clock p.m. Monday, February 21st on your calendar is also an optional teacher workday. And in closing, I want to take the opportunity to provide best wishes and a big thank you to two individuals, Mr. Barry Pace, who is not with us tonight, and Mr. Ben Rickert, who is. Barry has taken a position with the state in a technology leadership role, and that's within the Department of Public Instruction. And Robert Frisbee, his former assistant, has assumed that role of our new technology director. Ben Rickert will be leaving us to lead the communication efforts at Blue Ridge Community College. And so we so appreciate the great work that Barry and Ben have provided to the Buncombe County School family. You will always remain a member of our family, and we miss them. We'll miss them both, but we wish them the very best. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. At this time, I'll recognize good news.
That's me. Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Baldwin, members of the board. For our good news this evening, we'd like to invite Associate Superintendent Suzanne Swanger and Principal Heather Brookshire up to the podium. Tonight, we want to recognize Nesbitt Discovery Academy for their 100% graduation rate in 2021.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Baldwin, Madam Chair, members of the board, we are here to celebrate Nesbitt Discovery Academy. The main priority that all of us have is to ensure students graduate from high school and ready for their post-secondary, whatever their hopes and desires take them. So we're honored that we just recently heard from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction and the State Board of Education that Nesbitt Discovery Academy has earned the distinction of 100% graduation rate despite the challenges that all of us faced last year during COVID. This was achieved because everyone, including students, faculty and staff, administration, community partners, and families, rallied together to support their students, to ensure that they were nurtured, that they continued to grow academically, and they thrived at Nesbitt. For those of you that don't know, Nesbitt is a STEM-focused high school with no more than 100 students per grade level. There's a college-like atmosphere. Courses are offered considering the range from high school to college courses, advanced placement, honors level. The students are immersed in STEM cross-curricular activities: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. There is a lot of project-based learning. They problem solve together, and at the core, Nesbitt has an environment in which students invent their own tomorrow. And aren't we fortunate that these students will invent their tomorrows that we will benefit from as a community? I have to say, and I know Dr. Baldwin will agree with me, it's a highlight of our careers that 8 years ago, Nesbitt was created by a group of people, and look at where it is today. So Heather Brookshire, congratulations to you and your staff and your students and your families.
Thank you, Ms. Swanger. It is an honor to accept this recognition for our school. Nesbitt Discovery Academy has achieved a 100% graduation rate over the past 3 years. This is an outstanding accomplishment for the incredible work of our faculty and staff who do the extra every day to ensure all students are reaching their fullest potential. Our students are not immune to the barriers and difficulties that life brings, those obstacles that get in the way and stifle our path to success. Our students have encountered hardships, loss, health issues, and many other external factors that affect their ability to maintain their academics and even at times come to school. The supports we have in place to ensure all students graduate is due to the support of our school board, Dr. Baldwin, and the many others that wrap around all of our BCS schools. Having counselors, social workers, therapists, in all of our school buildings is vital to meeting the needs of all of our students. And lastly, our students who show up with grit, persistence, and a never give up attitude are all represented in this 100% graduation rate award. Congratulations, thank you, and go Chargers.
We learned that this is called a zoo. That's our word of the day.
What is
Ms.
it?
Simpkins, would you like to? People live in Nesbitt. A zoo. According to state.
It's good news for this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. We do appreciate all the work that goes on down there. We don't always understand everything that's going on down there, but we do appreciate all that. Tonight, on the action, let's see, our curriculum feature is also...
Public comment, Madam Chair.
I do that every time. I apologize. Public comment.
Yes, Madam Chair, we do have 5 public comment signups for this evening, beginning with Mr. Don Yelton, followed by Kim Presley. Mr. Yelton, please come down. You'll have 3 minutes. We'd like to ask you to start by saying your name and where you're from. And I'll motion at 1 minute and also at 30 seconds.
Well, I'm Don Yelton. For those of you that don't know me, I think most of you do, especially Dr. Baldwin. He's seen me a long time. And I'm here tonight representing 2 other people that can't be here because one is getting ready to run for the school board and another one is getting ready to run for a position in the House. So I may be one, but I represent 3. And I think you did get an email from one of the candidates that's going to be running for the school board. But I am very, very concerned about what's happening in our educational system. I think if you check, over 50% of Buncombe County's budget goes to the schools. And I think what we get is people being prepared for specialty college, but we don't have. I remember when AB Tech was AB Tech, and we taught people the trades. Today, you can make $100,000 a year working in plumbing or electrical. We're not teaching that. We're not talking about that. We're not promoting that. We're promoting wear a mask, take Pedersen, follow science. And folks, I've told you from time immemorial, science does not give the fact. Science is a process of analyzing to get to a theory that is a theory until other facts change that theory. And what are we seeing right now with COVID? Cloth masks don't work. Then we had a study come out and say that all of this being shut down and all of this not being anywhere only reduced the death rate by 0.2%. COVID is a virus. It's going to act like a virus. I'm not against anybody taking a shot. I took a shot. I got COVID 51 days after taking the shot. But I'm telling you, it is a decision to be made by each individual personally. It is a virus. It'll act like a virus. Some will get it and die. Some will get it and won't even know they got it. My wife laid in the bed with me, and I had it, and she didn't catch it. And by the way, we need to go ahead and realize what the damage is of wearing the cloth mask, even for us adults. When you get home tonight, take it off and look at it. See how much snot's on it and how much you've rebreathed during the day. I will be back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Kim Presley. Again, please start with your name and where you are from.
Good evening, I'm Kim Presley. I live in the Robertson School District, and I have a grandson that attends Glenarden Elementary School. Can you believe it? This week we celebrate the 100th day of school, and we've made it through 100 school days, and most of them have been in person. And I think everyone should get a gold star for that. I want to again thank the board for their hard work and their willingness to serve our community. I recognize that this is often a thankless and difficult job. I appreciate the time spent listening to experts, listening to concerned parents, and the sheer amount of homework that goes into your jobs. I know that it's not easy, and yet here you are, showing up month after month, doing the hard work. In the current climate, I imagine that it is especially difficult to drown out all the background noise and drama and focus on what is truly important, keeping our children safe and making sure that they are prepared to navigate the world around them in a meaningful, thoughtful, and productive way. We seem to be coming out of this latest spike in COVID, but please continue to listen to the experts and continue to keep masks in place in our schools. Please also continue to listen to the experts and to those who are more learned around issues of appropriate reading material and not be swayed by hysteria and rhetoric. Please pay attention to our own educators and those who are way smarter than we are around issues of what is appropriate historical context, even if it makes us uncomfortable. Please also listen to experts as well as your own heart and mind around issues of inclusion, gender, and race, especially if it makes us uncomfortable. Please do your best not to succumb to the noise, drama, rhetoric, and fear that dominates our world today, and continue to do what you know is right and best for our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to call Shanna Peel, followed by Alyssa Pedersen and Sarah Wilcox. Shanna Peel, please. Again, please start with your name and where you're from.
Sorry, I'm trying to get my timer up. Good evening. My name is Shanna Peel. I'm the EC teacher at Woodfin Elementary. First, I would like to say thank you to Dr. Baldwin and the board for working so hard to keep us safe. The continued mask policy and partnership with ABC Science Collaborative is a reassurance that my child who goes to Woodfin, my students, and all of our staff are that much safer in this pandemic. So, I've been an employee of Buncombe County Schools for 14 years this month, and I'm a graduate of Emmett Elementary, Irwin Middle, and Irwin High. Go Warriors. Actually, let me take that further and give you my background. I'm also a graduate of UNC Asheville, where I was a North Carolina teaching fellow. I have my master's degree from Western Carolina University in special ed. I actually started my master's degree while I was on maternity leave with my 4-year-old and my newborn. I finished my master's degree 2.5 years later through 2 additional pregnancies and working full-time as a preschool teacher. Now, I'm telling you all of this to say 2 things. First, I am highly qualified to do my job. Second, I'm really good at multitasking. I can change a diaper while simultaneously planning dinner and writing a 40-page research paper on behavior interventions. Multitasking is important as an educator. Did you know that researcher Philip Jackson said that elementary teachers make more decisions daily than a brain surgeon? As skilled as I am at multitasking, I must say that more and more I am feeling overwhelmed. Overwhelmed at all of the things that are added on top of teaching. Staff shortages due to vacancies and absences are straining already excessive workloads and schedules across the entire county. Retaining veteran staff and hiring new staff, we know is harder than ever. We're feeling it. Thankfully, we have received some bonuses from you and from the state. These have been super helpful, but it is very disheartening to see that our retention bonuses were so meager when compared to others across the state. Our colleagues in Asheville City received almost 3 times what we did. It's not always comfortable asking for money, but when so many BCS employees are receiving less than a living wage, it is necessary. We still have over $60 million in ESSER funds, so this is an easy fix. I'm asking the board to please consider increasing the retention bonus to $3,000 for certified staff and $3,500 for classified staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alyssa Pedersen, please. And please start with your name and where you're from.
My name is Lissa Pedersen. I am a teacher in the Buncombe County Schools. I have been with the Buncombe County Schools for 11 years. And I am so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be part of the Buncombe County School System. And I thank the board and I thank Dr. Baldwin. And I invite any of you to come to my classroom because there is such joy that we have in my classroom, and I'm an art teacher. The excitement, the joy, the challenge, the working through the aha is wonderful. You will be refreshed, you'll be replenished. I have to say though that none of us got into teaching for the money. I've said this before, I'll say it again. No one's gotten into teaching for the money, but it helps. Because if you did go in for the money, you'd get out of it quickly. It's such a hard job. It's such a hard job, but it's also so important because we're dealing with educating our children for the future. And it's hard, and the pandemic has only made it harder. We've got more duties, we've got more responsibilities, we have to cover for other people. If you just look at the hiring, people you need more bus drivers, we need more school nutrition. And we have, I know personally, 2 people who have left education in this past year because of the hardship of being in education. So I wanted to say that it is hard to be in education because of the challenges, but there's great rewards. And I also wanted to talk about the ESSER funds. And a lot of people don't know what the ESSER funds are. ESSER funds come from the federal government. Buncombe County Schools got $88.3 million. $88.3 million. You can look on the government website of North Carolina. And we've spent just under 70 million. So we have a lot of money left. I am saying that for Buncombe County Schools to be paid 1/3 of what Asheville City Schools, people are looking to go to Asheville City. Buncombe County Schools getting a bonus that's 1/3 of what Haywood County and Madison County got. We are feeling less valued. I can tell you, I talk to custodians, I talk to people on nutrition. People are feeling undervalued. You have the money. You are flushed with cash. We can never say that in education. We got so much money right now from the federal government. It's for emergency relief, and we need the emergency relief now. The emergency is now. We need to match the funds of other school systems. Thank you for listening for me, and I honestly and sincerely would like anyone to come to my classroom. You'll leave with joy. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to call Sarah Wilcox for our final public comment of the evening.
Good evening. Thank you as always for your service. Tonight I'm here to speak to the deeply concerning movement where parents who lack any training in the realm of education seek to tell educators what their children should learn. what our children learn is determined by people far more educated than most parents, as what we can know today is far more than what we all were taught as children. The fear of critical race theory is a fear around a college-level curriculum that illuminates how racism has shaped and continues to shape our nation. It is not K through 12 learning, and no one should be rejecting the importance of learning our history and how we can do better. While education doesn't determine the value or worth of any human, good education does provide tools that allows for critical thinking, cultivates concerns for others, and invites each generation to do better than the last in our historical truths, medical and technological advancements, and in our emotional and social growth and change. Many continue to threaten that they will switch to homeschooling or send their kids to parochial school. As a pastor, I do not oppose a religious education. I'm also aware that many are miseducated in our religious schools. Take, for instance, the age of the earth. Many religious folks continue to teach that it is approximately 6,000 to 8,000 years old. As geologists recognize, including the one that I am married to, this is inaccurate. It's steeped in mythology. As someone who reads and teaches from the Bible, I am clear the earth is about 4.5 billion years old, give or take 50 million years. Teaching from a deficit of knowledge helps no one. While I suspect this is a disservice to our children, I am more concerned about the impact of parents attempting to further entrench misinformation and rejection of history in our classrooms. The current actions of school boards across our nation, removing materials as fearful parents, seek to whitewash our history and ignore the very real human and cultural challenges we face, create a deep moment of concern for me, especially as those parents seeking to ban certain educational materials that teach our history or make our children feel bad, they allow their children to read the Bible. I encourage them to consider whether they need to keep their children from the Bible as well, as it is deeply disturbing when you read it closely. Our children deserve the education many parents have not yet received. The evolution of our knowledge and our history is not something to fear, but fear is bred in the lack of exposure to and ideas of information. These past few months, you have heard about those experiencing homelessness in Buncombe County, particularly the folks residing at the Ramada Inn. There are approximately 750 homeless students in Asheville and Buncombe County. They are homeless for many reasons, including mental health and substance abuse disorders. They come with their children. I hope that we can stop speaking about them without compassion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Dr. Baldwin, this does conclude our public comment this evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. And now it's the curriculum feature. Ms. Swanger.
To provide the board an update on career technical education. So Mr. Taylor Baldwin, our director for CTE, is going to share some information with you, and you'll see some wonderful statistics about our students who are involved in these outstanding courses.
Here, Dr. Baldwin, I wish Mr. Yelton had stuck around for this because I think he's got some information he'd love to see.
We can send him a copy.
We'll send him a copy of that. I think you guys can see up there too. I first want to start off with our mission statement. Mission of Buncombe County Schools Career and Technical Education Department is to provide the necessary programs and services to allow the students to graduate from high school prepared to succeed in the workforce and the secondary level. With our mission statement, I have a few district goals that we follow. The first one is supporting both college and career readiness programs. To continue to support CTE program development and operation with the improvement efforts at each school site. And I'm going to go over some of those here a little later in the slideshow here. Secure local and state and federal funds, and then work with our community, education, and business industry partners. And that will be to develop an appropriate career and technical education program. So there's a couple things on here I need to explain first. The numbers you see up here is what we call duplicated numbers. So with a duplicated enrollment number, that means that a student may be counted 1, 2, or 3 times in this. These are the numbers of how many students have taken a CTE course. So the numbers, of course, are going to be a little bit larger than probably what the school enrollment number is. So I don't want to mislead with that. but we've had 12,352 students take a CTE course and will take for this year. So that is a lot of students to go through our program. I broke them down by school. What you'll see too is that it's about 110% from the enrollment in that school. I talked about duplicated numbers. Let me talk about unduplicated. We reach 86% of students in the high school levels. So we've been very consistent with 86%. We've gone up from 84 to 86 in the past 5 years. So we're reaching more and more, and we're getting there. But across the state, we're above the state level reaching students in our county. The next thing I want to show you is we have 14 career clusters that we offer. Under these career clusters, there's 126 career pathways. So what does that mean? We have 62 course offerings at the high schools. And I just take a look at this for a second, because that is amazing to have 62 course offerings. Through these 62 course offerings, these courses separate out into career pathways that build your clusters. Some of our career pathways take 2 classes to get a concentration in CTE. Some of them, very few, we have a 3-course sequence that allow us to get a concentration in that sequence. So these are concentrators. And our concentrators, we have 1,145 concentrators fall semester. And that's a large number for concentrators. That means that we've had students take 2 CTE courses in the pathway, and most of them have had 2, but a few of them would have the 3-course sequence to be a concentrator. And we're just in the fall semester. So we've done a really good job as far as concentration goes. The 62 courses you saw prior to that, we've aligned those over the past 5 years with Perkins 5 coming in. And we've made that a little bit better for the students to concentrate through those pathways. So those are some wow factors as far as our numbers go for CTE in Buncombe County. This is CTE month, February. So we are celebrating CTE. And the next thing I'm going to show you guys, a lot of stuff that we have done throughout the year that we have truly celebrated throughout the year. I invite you guys, and if you have not already, we send out a CTE newsletter each month. If you're not getting that, please let me know, because we go through each school and make sure we're getting everything going on in those schools. I want to first talk about our community outreach. So we had a great chance. This is the first annual we've done this. We will do this every December now. North Buncombe Middle School and T.C. Robertson High School, FCCLA, we got together with Meals on Wheels, and we delivered 100 Meals on Wheels with the students before Christmas. I got a chance to drive one of the county cars and drive around and knock on doors. We had the students dress up and sang Christmas carols and gave out presents to the Meals on Wheels folks. So it was a great thing for us to get into. One of the things I want to mention too, this is just one community outreach we've done. And I know Heather's in here. Nesbitt Discovery Academy started Habitat for Humanity. And so we've kind of been in collaboration with that, but we've had some great success this year with that. We're going to be looking at some more community outreach programs for our CTSOs and classrooms as well. Moving on to our next one, Career Cafe, and this one's amazing because this is actually a 7th grader idea that came to fruition. We had, let me give you her name. Claire, yes. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, Claire Burchette. Now, Claire came to Miss Peak, who teaches Family Consumer Science at North Buncombe Middle School. Claire asked about the idea, and Miss Peak helped her bring that to light. They've now done about 4 of these, and we're going to continue to do them until the rest of the year. We've had all sorts of folks from industry come in to meet with all the students in that building. It's really been an awesome program to put on. It usually happens during the lunchtime, and they have a huge rotation of students that come through to actually take part of that. So it was a great idea that actually came from one of our students from North Buncombe Middle School. The next one, our FFA program, we had the North Buncombe High School FFA had a chance to go to nationals this year. Now, if you guys don't know, that was a really hard time to go out of state with COVID going on. They came back with a silver medal. They had 2 silvers and 2 bronzes. We were really proud of those folks too. Mr. Gillespie, who runs that program, has worked really hard with those students to get them there. Cassie Saltz is the Vet Science State winner, #1 in the state from North Buncombe High. She'll move on to the Nationals for this next year, but she did a lot of work with Mr. Gillespie to get to that point. I do want to mention a couple of things that aren't on the slideshow too. Our woodworking programs that we've started since last year have really taken off. Reynolds High School, Mr. Sykes from Reynolds High School got a chance to build cabinets with his 2nd level course and install them at the church down the road from him. So if you guys get a chance, and I can send photos of that as well, but it is an amazing cabinetry work. It would be something that you'd probably buy from a cabinetry maker. They did a great job on that. Looking at the top left here, Reynolds High School, we are doing a total improvement of the FFA program and the ag program for them. Elijah Frisbee is our new teacher up there. I will invite you guys out. We're doing some construction work up top above Reynolds to get some new buildings. So when that is taking place, I'll be inviting you guys out to come take a look at it. But he has done a great job to flip that program. The last thing I'm going to remind you with FFA, please do not forget there are barbecue fundraiser. You can go ahead and put your orders in for a $35 Boston butt from North Buncombe High. So, Ms. Franklin.
They're quite tasty.
Okay, so with DECA, and this is really important too, we've kind of, DECA has kind of lost its way a little bit past couple years. Mr. Furlow from Reynolds High School and one of our new teachers from T.C. Robertson, Ms. Hollett, have really revamped DECA in our system. Mr. Furlow put on this is his 8th annual Western Region competition. He had around 300 students show up to compete in that. He has done an amazing job putting that on, and it is a lot of work from a DECA group to put that large of a program on. Through our DECA program, they're actually going to be competing in March. We have 20 students from Reynolds, which is it's doubled over the past 2 years for us. And we've got about 12 students from T.C. Robertson that will be competing in March for that. Last thing, and I did not get a chance to present this in the fall, but we did a Careers on Wheels cow event. This is our first annual Careers on Wheels cow event. Our cow event really took off. It was a huge hit. We had over 600 5th and 6th graders attend this event on AB Tech's campus. We took all 3 parking spots all the way up to the top of the hill. We had 50 industry folks show up. Anybody that had a vehicle involved with their industry showed up to talk to the students about what their industry is. We did tours with all the students on it. It was such a huge hit. DPI picked it up. We were top 10, I think, for 3 months in a row. So, but our Careers on Wheel event was very successful. We do plan to continue this into the spring, and this will be something annual that we do with it. Last and most importantly, and this is what I really, really want to make sure drives home, is the industry changes. So COVID, if it hasn't done changes, it has definitely changed how industry folks are thinking of how to grab our kids. We were approached by Mission Hospital, and a great partnership came from this. Mission is offering a CNA course, 7-week-long course, to anyone 18 years or older. They will pay for everything while you're taking that CNA 7-week course. They will pay for scrubs. You'll take your CNA exam afterwards, and during that entire time, you get paid by Mission, and you get benefits starting day 1. So, and that's a win-win right there. I've sat in, I can't tell you how many industry meetings, and everybody has wanted that right there. So I do hope that in the future, I'll be coming to you guys with some more exciting news like this. But this is where we're headed with our industry folks, and I expect to see more partnerships like this in the future. So that concludes my presentation on CTE. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any of you have any questions?
I just have a comment. Last week, I was actually at T.C. Robertson waiting on to speak with a teacher, and his classroom was right across from and I'm going to probably really age myself here, but the health occupations class. I know that's not what we call it now, but I was thrilled to hear all of the engagement that was going on between the students and the teachers. And I tell you, what was going through my mind was, oh, thank God I'm going to be able to retire. So, so I'm just was so super excited to see and hear, that there is that interest, and that we do have students that, still want to go into an industry that is very difficult, as the pandemic has shown. So I appreciate everything that CTE has done to help allow our students those kind of opportunities. Thank you.
CTE is exciting as all get out. I mean, all those things that I never got to do as a student, and to watch students get to enjoy that today, it's just a sincere blessing. And I appreciate all your work, Taylor, and your ability to put instructors in place that make that happen. And that's a skill to be celebrated. Thank you.
Taylor, I'm going to ask you just to reference three of the hot items I continue to read and hear across the state is the direction and you reference the paid internships, but internships, sometimes you hear apprenticeships, and then what appears to be on the horizon is the importance of credentials and licensure. So what's your observation in those particular areas?
Let me touch on the credentials real quick. So credentials have been a hot topic for years now. What I like to call it is meaningful credentials. So when we look at credentials that we offer in our classes, we want it to mean something. There is thousands and thousands of credentials that you can obtain right now. But if you don't walk out of the building, it doesn't mean anything. What's the worth of it? We offer credentials we have OSHA training credentials that get offered through our courses. Our Woodworker Career Alliance credentials that we offer. We have our CNA, of course, that our nursing fundamentals that goes through. Autodesk certifications, Adobe certifications. We've even got accounting certifications that we're offering now. Whenever we look at a credential, we want to make sure that it's going to mean something. I could pick a credential and offer it in every class we've got, but I don't want to offer a credential that's not going to help the student move forward. You're going to hear credentials, and it's already in Operation Polaris and things like that. You're going to hear more and more about credentials, and especially in the near future. I just want you guys to realize we got to focus on what's meaningful credential. Everybody can get a trophy, but I want to make sure that trophy means something. And then secondly, the apprenticeship. So you're going to hear another hot buzzword, and you've probably already started hearing it. Apprenticeship and internship. We've been doing internships. The word apprenticeship to me seems like that is something that you would think of at a community college level. The big word that we focus on is pre-apprenticeship. Those are things that the students can do prior to leaving the high school level. I like to call them industry promises, which is what we're seeing right here. Because I think a lot of the industry folks are not focusing so much on, am I a part of that apprenticeship or am I promising something to that employer? So we're really focusing heavily on these industry promises from here on. We're using this model here to go to other employers to hopefully bring that with them. But our goal is right now is that senior year of high school, we're going to try to be connecting you with a local employer. You can get that experience with them before you head out. That answer your question? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
A reason to stay in the area and be a contributing citizen. Next item on the agenda is the action agenda. Our first budget item is budget amendment number 3. Do board members have questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? All right, the next item, 2022-2023 Buncombe County School Calendar. Ms. Swanger, are there questions from the board?
I have one or two, Madam Chair, if I
Yes.
could. Ms. Swanger or maybe Mr. Campbell, the start date for 22-23, is that later than normal per session law?
I can address that. That is the worst-case scenario under the current calendar law. The calendar law requires that it be so many days within, I believe, August 25th, and that fits the calendar law. And I do not mind saying once again that it is my understanding that in Western North Carolina, camp folks are fine with school starting around August 15th, and the General Assembly still will not take this up. But you are now seeing the worst-case scenario as far as a late start date under the calendar.
Well, that was my thought. The 25th is always, it's been a date closest to the 25th, right? So
the Monday
closest, so you can't go backwards to the 22nd if we had to go forward to the 29th.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Which then impacts, which is my second question, Ms. Swanger, because it seems different to me as we move into January of 2023, at what day during those first 3 weeks, or what days during those first 3 weeks do we see final exams?
When do we see second semester?
Yeah.
Much later than we have this current school year. We have a wonderful calendar. It flowed beautifully from when that Monday closest to August 26th.
Right.
2 weeks for winter break, worked beautifully. The 22-23 year late start creates several challenges and does move exams past that Martin Luther King holiday. So exams will start right after Martin Luther King on the 17th of January. We'll change into a new semester on the 26th of January.
So will the exams be over a 4-day period, or do they take 5? So
5
there'll be a
days.
weekend break, so
5
barring any
days.
weather issue, they'd go the 17th through the 23rd.
Yes.
And then you have those 2 dates built in there for grades and changing and getting a new semester started,
Correct.
et cetera.
The positive with the calendar is we are aligned with AB Tech for spring break, and that hasn't happened before. So AB Tech is going later, and we will go that week of April 3rd.
How do we align with them at the start of the school year?
We are not aligned. They start before us, so our students will be taking classes if they're registered.
Will they be 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Begins the 22nd of August.
So not the 15th?
Correct.
Okay. And there's not, Mr. Campbell, there's not anything we can do about this, is there?
Not under the current calendar law. We haven't reviewed the possibility of that earlier Monday before this evening. We haven't looked at that. We will take a look at that. Be happy to take a look at that.
Well, I don't think we
the
need
law
to
is
delay anymore,
pretty
because this is
conscripted.
normally something we've passed in November, December board meetings. I mean, we need to get a calendar out to the public for
The
planning
start
for
date
next year.
in the law says no earlier than the Monday closest to August 26th.
That's correct. If it pushes it, it is the August 26th. That's right. I just pulled it up to double check, so that is correct.
We'd have to
This
move
is-
forward. The closest Monday is the 29th, so we
That's
don't have
correct.
a choice.
What we want to hope for is that we continue having those 5 remote learning options for weather days.
And do we know if that's in the works or something that has to be voted on again?
That's a short
We,
session.
well,
item, I guess.
we are expecting there to be a clarification of the ability to have remote days, but we don't have it yet.
They have worked beautifully this year in terms of those days we could not run buses and have school in person.
Other questions from board members?
When we take those 5 days, I'm assuming that probably doesn't help us toward like the waiver that we've gotten in the past. How does that fall
Correct.
into play?
The waiver is really of non-existence. To qualify, you have to miss 8 full days of school during 4 of the last 10 years.
Okay.
So we are not online to receive the waiver. And if remote learning days continue, I would think that the waiver will slowly disappear. But there's still about 16 school districts in the state using a winter weather waiver.
Creates, at the back end, if we, Mr. Campbell, help me, but if we had are we still a June 10th or similar finishing date?
Right.
Correct.
Correct.
And we're slated to go right to the 9th. So if we had
It is a
something,
box with a start date and a stop date and 180 school days in between.
And again, for what it's worth, my understanding is, and Dr. Baldwin or Ms. Swanger could speak to this, that if schools did start mid-August most calendars could finish by the end of May.
Correct.
We did early June one time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And had exams before winter break, which is so beneficial.
Yes.
That's
So
what I hear all the time, is how important it is to try to have those exams before.
if
like
you think
colleges
that
do.
makes sense, talk to your
Exactly.
legislative delegation.
And we have 4 students on the calendar committee, and they shared that same sentiment.
Yeah, the impact of these types of things is always, it comes from Raleigh, we have to implement it, but the impact is to families and kids. I mean,
Correct.
that's who gets hurt by this, and it's
Correct.
just, I fail to understand the logic with it. It just doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help anybody in any way, shape, or form.
2 other parts of the calendar, it was extremely important to the calendar committee and the feedback that they received in their peer groups to bring forward to have 2 full weeks winter break. So that made a big difference to them this past year. When you do that, we have those days scheduled because that's what their recommendations to you are. However, it removes other teacher work days throughout the calendar, longer spans of time. The early dismissals that you see are key because this coming school year, all teachers K through 5 will be required to attend literacy training through the state mandate called LETTERS. And we'll be using some of those early dismissals to help teachers get a little bit of time in for that training. But it's quite intensive. Our teachers will be doing that for the next 2 years, and we'll share a presentation with you a little bit later once we know some more details about that program.
All right, any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Madam Chair, reluctantly, I would make that motion.
Yes. Could I get a reluctant second?
Reluctant second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The next item on the agenda is the NCSBA 2022 Legislative Committee Board nomination, and I'm going to ask Amy Churchill to speak to that, please.
So we have the opportunity to provide the North Carolina School Board Association's Board of Directors with a nomination of a member to serve on the NCSBA's Legislative Committee. This is a task that they would be tasked to help develop the draft NCSBA legislative agenda for consideration and adoption by the Delegate Assembly. The committee is comprised of a subset of the NCSBA Board of Directors and at-large applicants representing the 8 education districts. The at-large members are selected by the NCSBA president, and the NCSBA legislative agenda is school board's legislative agendas, and this process provides an opportunity for the larger membership of school boards across the state to become more directly involved. So this is a very important position that we have the honor of being able to nominate somebody for, one that needs to be given serious consideration to, and after having some discussion with the individual, I am happy to make the recommendation that we nominate Ms. Amanda Simpkins to serve as our nominee for the Board of Directors Legislative Committee.
Thank you. So she's put that name into nomination.
I would second that nomination, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other nominations?
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, do you accept this challenge, Amanda Simpkins? We are so proud that you do. So by acclamation?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Now we have the consideration for the return to learn plans, and that is Dr. Baldwin.
Well, back again, another month. I want to just start out by echoing some of the words that we heard from Mrs. Presley during public comment, because I think we need to stop and reflect, barring the impact of Mother Nature and the 5 days that we've lost thus far due to inclement weather that forced us to close our school campuses. We've been open, fully open, for in-person instruction. And in COVID world, things move so fast, don't they? But I just think it's relevant for us to stop and reflect and compare where we were last year at this time. As you can recall, our desire was to be stable, continuous in-person instruction, but there were continuous transitions back and forth, certainly beyond our control. But I think it's important to understand the success, because all of us believe strongly that the decisions that we make in terms of the best interests of our students is to maximize their opportunity to be in that classroom and to take advantage of that face-to-face instruction with a teacher. So I want to start out with that comment off the soapbox. Just a reminder, this slide, I think, has been in place now for about 5 months, why we're here. And that is, by law, we are required, you the board, to make a decision to vote at least once a month on whether face covering policy should be modified. So that's the charge. Also, a reminder that beginning August 13th, at a special called session, this board adopted some very key metrics to help us in making those decisions. And once again, I'm going to read, just to preface those metrics, that as a benchmark only and subject to consideration of all relevant factors, the Board of Education would consider a change in face covering protocol in consultation with our local Buncombe County Department of Health and Human Services if the following local metrics were realized. And today I'm going to focus back on the reduction or amending those requirements. What we said that was adopted regarding the metrics guidelines was that the percent positivity rate would remain below the state average, and we would find Buncombe County coded as yellow or blue on the CDC level of community transmission map, and the number of students and staff positive cases and quarantines lessen over the 14 successive day time period. So that's what was put in place. And I said this at I think at several past board meetings. I applaud the board for moving in this direction. We've had numerous school systems across the state contact us and ask about this type of metric guideline, so that we are, again, following the science, following the public health experts, and having a goal, not that it is finite and that the decision has to be made entirely upon these data marks, but that it serves as a guide. And I think, personally, that served us well, and the proof is in the pudding when we look at the percentages of days that we've been able to offer in-person instruction for our students. This is a slide that you're familiar with. I want to thank Kim Matthews for helping me. She updates these every month for us. And by the way, what I'm showing you on these 4 key metrics, just a reminder that these are statewide metrics. This actually is provided to us a couple of days before each meeting through a session with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. So that's where these statistics come from. Last month, I don't think I had a single positive to relay to you concerning the data that we're seeing. We have positives, and we have, I guess the best way to describe it is a mixed bag that I'm bringing you tonight. 4 key metrics, and we're starting to, again, to see a pattern of decreasing, which is what all of us were hoping for. The daily cases by the date reported, and that we're seeing as of February 1st, we're seeing that drop. The percentage of emergency room visits that are for COVID-like illness compared to previous seasons. Again, we're seeing the line move southward in the direction that we're hoping for. The positive tests as a percent of total tests. Now, that still remains fairly high, especially if we compare it back all the way to March 2020 when we first entered into this. For positive tests, that percentage for the state's 26.9%. But again, when you look at the data points, we're starting to see a reduction. And then the daily number of people currently hospitalized. And what I continue to hear from our experts is that this is the one, the hospitalization, and certainly Ms. Churchill, I think, would agree with this, that tends to lag behind what we're going to see in terms of the actual case reduction. But again, we're seeing a slight decrease. So this is all very good and positive. I wanted to include this slide. I did not include it last month, but this actually indicates the pattern that we're seeing concerning the number of COVID cases per 100,000 population by age groups. And again, this is a statewide example, and it shows the following age groups: 0 to 17, 18 to 24, 25 to 49, 50 to 64, and 65 and over. And again, as we look toward the most recent date that the data is patterned, we see, again, that reduction for all age groups. That's very positive. This is a new slide. And this chart reflects the recent dominance of the Omicron variant of COVID-19. And so this particular color-coded slide represents data from, this is a national data from what's called Region 4, which includes Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. And you can see that as of January 22nd, the percentage of COVID positive cases, 99.9% are of the Omicron variant. In fact, if you actually backtrack to December 25th regarding this chart, you'll see that that is when we saw the majority of COVID cases reflect the Omicron variant, December 25th. So I think this slide, I wanted to show it to you because it does reflect just the emergence of Omicron, and I can promise you that the transmissibility that we're seeing this strain is incredible. I think I shared with you, and again, realize that we've gained quite a bit of flexibility now through our toolbook regarding the number of days that we're able to for quarantine and isolation, especially with close contacts. But all that said, I think I shared with you this past Tuesday when we did a snapshot that we had 96% of our employees that were not at work that particular day, 96% showed positive tests for COVID. And that is a significant shift. I said this last month of what we're seeing. Again, I think it just reflects the high transmission capabilities of Omicron. This is a slide, again, that we've included each month, and that's the percent positivity. And we've tried to give you a comparison. If we backtrack to last month, what I brought to you, we saw that the positivity rate for Buncombe County was 20.2%, and for North Carolina, it was 31.1%. Now we move forward to February 2nd, and the percent positivity for Buncombe County is 23.7%, a slight increase, by the way, and for North Carolina, a decrease, 24.2%. And again, I think so much of this reflects, between these 2 months, the impact of Omicron. The level of community transmission, that has not changed from what I presented to you January 11th to today. Based upon that CDC map, we're seeing that there continues to remain for all counties in North Carolina high levels of community transmission. And again, that was one of the key areas that we identified for our metrics. I think this is interesting. Since January 12th, the number of staff and student positive COVID cases, new cases. For staff, that's 244. To give you some comparison, last month when I presented this slide, the number was 184. So an increase, okay, moderate increase. For students, the number of positive cases has gone to 1,070. Now that's compared to last month when I gave you this data, and it was 255. So that's a sharp increase. And again, I attribute this to a large degree about the high transmissibility of the Omicron variant. Thought you might be interested in this. Again, I appreciate Kim keeping us updated. Where are we across the state? Now, when I reported this to you last month, 69, and there's 115 school systems in the state of North Carolina, 69 of those, or 60%, had a universal mask or face covering mandate in place. Now let's flash forward to January 28th, and that 60% has moved to 75.65%. It's gone from 69 school districts to 87. Again, on January 28th, and this has been the most recent report we've been able to pull. Now, I do predict that over the next several weeks, we'll see shifts and changes in this as the patterns change. And again, good news I'm bringing to you is we're starting to see statistics move and patterns move in the direction that I believe we want them to move. And that can translate into shifts in thought concerning the face coverings. But I'll also say to you that, again, back to what our number one goal is, and that is to maximize in-person instruction. And in order to do that, face coverings play a significant role in terms of our ability to keep our kids in the school building, bring them back from, remember, isolations are due to someone being COVID positive. Quarantines are due to them being a close contact of someone that is positive. And the factor of the face coverings play into this. I think that's why we saw an increase of 18 school systems over this period of time moving back to the requirement for face coverings. Because I think we all understand we've got to have our kids in school. We do not want to return back to sending everyone home with remote instruction. It's good certainly for inclement weather days, as Ms. Swanger says. It's been a blessing for us, but we do not want to see this extended leave out of our campuses or from our campuses. Also wanted to remind you that from the county standpoint, Buncombe County, that mandate extends through February 16th, although they are scheduled for their next board session on February 15th, and we certainly would anticipate that there is the possibility of that mask mandate being changed. So just to make you aware of that. Okay, what's our recommendation? Our recommendation is that we maintain current mask requirements in the school building for all students and staff. And I'm going to say this with a bit of a caveat. I always try to look at the glass as half full, and I think we're seeing some encouraging signs. And again, this is simply coming from one superintendent. I'm encouraged that when we come back for our March meeting, that we may see some variance in that recommendation. Now, that remains to be seen, because again, I think I've shown you ample evidence of what we're dealing with the levels of transmissibility due to this Omicron variant. And I don't believe it's going to end necessarily anytime quickly. But over time, we're seeing some patterns certainly move in the right direction that we would like to see. So with that, Madam Chair, that concludes my presentation. Any questions that you might have?
Questions from the board? Pat, do you have a motion?
No, I don't have a motion. I have a question. Dr. Baldwin, and it's probably been presented to us previously, but when we've done this, are our memories, if memory serves, we are able to still participate in appropriate and different types of opportunities for our students depending on the school and grade level and what's going on off campus as well. Is that correct? In terms of like field trips and I know we had the education day at a UNC Asheville home basketball game in December. I know we may not have had as many as we've had in the past, but we as a school system, gauging all of the safety parameters and issues at that particular time, still have the ability to do those things. Is that correct?
We have, and I think, again, Mr. Huff does a great job of coordinating and working with our principals in terms of those requests coming in. But I do think that we are now seeing that pattern where we have much more flexibility, again, maintaining the protocols that need to be in place. And I failed to address this as I did last month, but I really do point toward the test to stay as a key, for lack of a better term, a key weapon for us to have in terms of addressing concerns with COVID. So you're exactly right. We've been able to, we're looking at them on a case-by-case basis.
And I asked the question for two reasons. One, it is important for us to have our kids in the building and to be learning, but there are a lot of different ways that kids learn in our school systems, and a lot of those trips that we're able to make and do for kids. I think it does two things. Number one, there's a lot of educational value in those things, but number two, it's also it would seem to me anecdotally to be a way that another step towards returning to quote unquote normal, if you will. And I know it's coming up, and you know, and this board knows where I am as a college basketball fan, and the Southern Conference has been a huge partner of this city for a number of years, and I know we've had a large participation in an education day type setting there. Don't know that it's appropriate to do it again. I would hope we would look at, as a system, a conversation with the Southern Conference, because they've been such a good partner for not only the city of Asheville and this community, but also Buncombe County Schools. And if there's a way to still do that, and other things like that as we move into the spring and the weather gets nicer, and other types of things that are beneficial to a whole lot of folks in a whole lot of ways, and first and foremost to our students. If we could continue to keep an eye on those types of things and look for those opportunities. And I don't know that there's any direction that needs to come from the board. I just wanted to bring that out there and to make it as part of the discussion if we can.
And again, just to sort of connect some dots, I think the importance of the face coverings is certainly, if you're a college basketball fan and you watch college basketball games, spectators in that audience are wearing those masks. So I think that's, and we just talked about the importance of internships, right? How important that is to actually get that type of experience. Certainly education, the ability to educate and provide a learning opportunity far exceeds just the classroom. So I would support 100% what you said, Ms. Bryant.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of Dr. Baldwin?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Could I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the next part of the agenda is the consent agenda, the minutes of January 13 regular open session, the personnel report with addendum, AB Tech Community College Board trustees reappointment, and an advisory council member request to add a member. Could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Information agenda, we have received financial reports, a notification of informal construction and repairs contracts and change orders, and we have removed policy 2302 from consideration in this agenda. At this time, I will announce that our next meeting is March the 3rd, beginning at 4 p.m. in the Bowcatcher room with open sessions beginning at 5:30. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Second? All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you very much.